When your wife comes back from another trip with a smile you've never seen before, you realize something has changed forever. My name is Tom, and for the last 5 years, I've been driving New York's wealthiest people in their luxury cars. My wife Samantha was building her career as a travel blogger, traveling the world, shooting videos, getting millions of views. We lived in a small apartment in the Bronx, but we dreamed of more. I drove stars to their penthouses while she showed subscribers paradise beaches and mountain peaks. It all started a year ago when one of my clients invited us to a party on his yacht. Samantha was thrilled, new connections, content, opportunities. I couldn't have imagined then that this party would be the beginning of the end. She met Walt there, owner of a hotel chain across the country. Charismatic, successful, with the same dreams about travel as hers. The next months flew by unnoticed. Samantha traveled more frequently, California, Florida, Texas, Colorado. Coming back, she told stories about amazing places, new projects, collaboration opportunities. I was happy for her, supported her, waited. But something in the air was changing. She became somehow different, not colder, no. On the contrary, too happy, too inspired. And that worried me more than it should have. One evening, after my shift, I was sitting in the client's car, waiting for him to finish a business meeting. Scrolling through Instagram as always. And suddenly I saw a post from Marcus, Samantha's old friend from university, also a blogger. A photo from some party in Miami, where among the guests I recognized my wife. She stood next to a man who had his hand on her waist too familiarly. I zoomed in on the photo, the same Walt from the yacht. But that wasn't all. I started scrolling further, tags, locations, dates. It turned out that over the last 9 months, their travels coincidentally overlapped. When Samantha went to Miami to shoot an ad for a swimwear brand, Walt posted photos from the same hotel. When she flew to Los Angeles for a bloggers conference, he checked in at the same area. My heart was pounding so hard it seemed about to jump out. I started digging deeper. Every post of hers, every geolocation, every tag. And the picture became clearer and clearer. My hands trembled when I found a video from a private yacht party 3 months ago. There, in the corner of the screen, they were kissing. In the evening, Samantha returned home with a suitcase and stories about Chicago. I listened, nodded, smiled. She suspected nothing. And I was already building a plan. Because what I decided to do was meant to destroy not just our relationship, but everything she had been building these years. You see, being a travel blogger isn't just about traveling. It's reputation. It's subscriber trust. It's collaboration with brands that pay for sincerity and authenticity. And Samantha was selling the perfect picture of an independent woman conquering the world with a loving husband waiting at home. Our joint photos got millions of likes. Stories about how we overcame difficulties together were her most popular content. The first thing I did was create a fake account and write to Marcus. I introduced myself as a journalist preparing material about successful bloggers. Asked for photos from various events over the past year for the article. Marcus, suspecting nothing wrong, sent me an archive, hundreds of photos where Samantha and Walt were together at parties, presentations, closed events. In some they were hugging, in others, just standing nearby, but their looks said everything. Next, I contacted Emily, Samantha's friend with whom they started blogging together. They had a fight a few months ago over some nonsense, and Emily deleted all joint photos. I knew she was still hurt. Under the guise of an old mutual acquaintance, I casually mentioned how strange that Samantha is so often in the same cities as Walt. Emily wasn't stupid, she understood everything instantly. What I didn't expect was that Emily would tell me much more. Turns out, at one of the conferences, Samantha drunkenly admitted to several bloggers that she had fallen in love. That it was the strongest feeling of her life. That she never felt this way with her husband. Emily thought then that Samantha was joking or exaggerating, but now everything fell into place. The next step was to gather all those people who knew the truth or suspected something. I created a private group in Messenger, anonymous, but added screenshots, photos, timeline coincidences. Added Samantha's blogging colleagues, brand managers she worked with, even some of her relatives who followed Walt on social media. The group started living its own life. People shared observations, guesses, evidence. It turned out many suspected something but stayed silent. Now, when everything came together, staying silent became impossible. And then I did what no one expected. I didn't publish anything myself. Instead, I waited. Waited for the big event Samantha had been preparing for 3 months. The annual Travel Bloggers Conference in New York, where she was to give a speech about authenticity in blogging and receive the Most Sincere Content of the Year award. A week before the conference, one by one bloggers from my private group started casually posting mysterious stories. Without names, without direct accusations. Just questions. What if that perfect blogger you look up to is actually living a lie? Or, I wonder how many blogger couples are actually happy, and how many are just selling a picture? The intrigue grew. Samantha's subscribers started writing her questions. Is this about you? She laughed, denied, even shot a video about how important it is not to fall for rumors. But I wasn't finished yet. I found Walt's wife. Yes, he was married too. Moreover, for 15 years already and had 2 children. I wrote her anonymously, sent evidence. She didn't believe at first, but then started her own investigation. It turned out Walt wasn't just cheating, he was promising Samantha he'd leave his family. Promised her a future together, hotel business together, traveling the world. Walt's wife turned out to be a smart woman. She didn't make scenes, didn't threaten. Instead, she called Samantha's mother. Just talked, woman to woman. Told everything. Samantha's mother, a religious conservative woman from Georgia, for whom family values were sacred, was shocked. She immediately called her daughter. Samantha denied everything. Said it was lies, slander, jealousy. But Mom didn't believe. She came to New York without warning, burst into our apartment and interrogated Samantha. I was there. I silently watched as my wife tried to wriggle out, make up explanations. But when Mom showed her the photos I had anonymously sent, Samantha broke down and confessed. She screamed that yes, she had fallen in love. That it happened unexpectedly. That she didn't want to hurt me. That she loved me as a friend, but with Walt she had real love. That they were planning to tell me everything after the conference, when she would receive the award and could start a new life with a clean slate. Mom gave an ultimatum. Either Samantha breaks up with Walt right now and asks for my forgiveness, or she's no longer her daughter. Samantha, tearful and broken, tried to explain that she couldn't just forget her feelings. Mom turned around and left. They never spoke again. But the most interesting part started next. Because the conference was approaching and rumors were spreading more and more. 3 days before the event, one popular blogger published a post. When you find out that the nominee for the Sincerity Award is living a double life and cheating on the husband who supported her all these years, what does that feel like? She didn't name names. But everyone understood who it was about. Comments exploded. Samantha's subscribers divided. Some defended her, some demanded explanations. Samantha tried to ignore it, but conference organizers called her. They said that because of the scandal they couldn't give her the award. That it would ruin the event's reputation. Samantha was crushed. She called Walt, begged him to publicly confirm their relationship, to at least somehow justify herself to the audience. Say yes, they fell in love, but it's real feeling, not just cheating. Walt refused. Said he couldn't destroy his life. That he had children, business, reputation. That their affair was a mistake. Samantha couldn't believe it. She drove to him, made scenes. But Walt was adamant. His wife threatened to take the kids and half the business if he didn't stop all this immediately. He chose his family. And then something happened that I didn't expect either. Emily, that same former friend, published a long post about the fakeness of the blogging industry. She told a story about one blogger who built a brand on sincerity and family values, but actually cheated on her husband during every trip. Without naming names, but the details were so specific that everyone understood. The post went viral. Samantha was flooded with questions, accusations, hatred. Brands she worked with started terminating contracts. Subscribers massively unsubscribed. Her account became toxic. This was the moment when I realized, there's no going back. I filed for divorce. The process was long and exhausting, but I didn't give up. We divided everything equally, sold the apartment, split the money. Formally everything was fair. But I knew the real punishment wasn't the loss of money. Samantha lost much more. She lost her mother, who never forgave her betrayal. She lost her career. Brands no longer wanted to work with her. Subscribers turned away, other bloggers perceived her as toxic. She lost Walt, who returned to his family and blocked her on all social media. She lost friends. Most bloggers chose not to support her, fearing the scandal would damage their reputation too. The last time I saw her was by chance, 6 months after the divorce. She was working at a small travel agency in the Bronx, processing visas. The same neighborhood where we started together. She had aged, her eyes became empty. I didn't approach. Just walked past. Sometimes I think, was it all worth it? Was I too cruel? But then I remember those 9 months of lies. I remember how she kissed me before leaving, knowing that in a few hours she'd be in another man's arms. I remember all those perfect posts about our happy family, under which subscribers wrote goals, and I dream of such love. Revenge isn't always about money or physical pain. Sometimes it hurts most to lose what you betrayed for. Samantha didn't just betray me, she betrayed everyone who believed in her. And when that trust turned against her, she had nowhere left to run. But let me tell you more about what led to this point because the details matter. You see, when I first discovered the truth, I didn't just feel anger. I felt betrayed on a level I never knew existed. Every kiss goodbye before her trips now replayed in my mind with new meaning. Every "I miss you" text while she was away felt like a dagger. Every time she came home and we made love, I wondered if she had been with him just hours before. The weight of this knowledge was crushing. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep properly. During my shifts, I'd zone out while driving, my mind constantly cycling through the evidence. My clients noticed something was off, but I blamed it on fatigue. How could I explain that my entire life had become a carefully constructed lie? I started documenting everything methodically. Not just the social media posts but flight records, hotel bookings that I could find through mutual connections, credit card statements that she carelessly left around. The pattern was undeniable. Every work trip corresponded with Walt's travel schedule. Every brand collaboration happened in cities where his hotels were located. What really broke me was finding a draft email on our shared computer. She had written it to Walt but never sent it. In it, she poured out her heart about how much she loved him, how she couldn't wait to start their life together, how she was just waiting for the right moment to leave me. She wrote about how I was a good man, but that she had never felt true passion with me. Reading those words, written by the woman I had supported through everything, was like being gutted alive. But here's what she didn't know. That draft email became my blueprint. It told me everything I needed to know about their plans, their timeline, their dreams. And I decided that if she was planning to destroy my life, I would dismantle hers piece by piece. I reached out to other VIP drivers in my network. In our business, we talk. We share information about clients, about who's sleeping with whom, about the secrets we're privy to. I learned that Walt had a reputation. Samantha wasn't his first affair. There had been others, other ambitious women he had dangled opportunities in front of, made promises to, and eventually discarded. His wife knew about some of them but stayed for the children and the lifestyle. Armed with this information, I contacted one of Walt's previous affairs, a woman named Jennifer who ran a successful lifestyle brand. She had been through exactly what Samantha was going through now. Walt had promised her the world, used her connections to expand his business, then dumped her when things got complicated. Jennifer was still bitter, and when I explained the situation, she was more than willing to help. Jennifer reached out to Samantha under the pretense of a collaboration opportunity. They met for coffee, talked about business, and Jennifer carefully planted seeds of doubt about Walt. Nothing direct, just casual mentions of how complicated he could be, how he had big promises but bigger complications. Samantha defended him, of course, but I could tell from her posts afterwards that the seeds had taken root. There was a subtle shift in her tone, a hint of uncertainty creeping in. Meanwhile, I continued building my case. I found the yacht where their affair had started and contacted the crew. For the right price, one of the staff members provided me with more photos and even some video footage from that night. The evidence was damning. They hadn't just kissed, they had disappeared below deck for over an hour. My reaction shocked even her friends. Before I continue, please pause the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new interesting stories. Thank you. I also discovered something else through my network. Walt was having financial troubles. His hotel chain was overleveraged, he had made some bad investments, and he was desperately trying to keep up appearances. Samantha, with her growing influence and connections to luxury brands, was valuable to him not just romantically but professionally. He was using her to attract high-end clientele to his properties. This revelation changed my strategy. I realized Walt would never leave his wife because he couldn't afford to. The divorce would bankrupt him. Samantha was living in a fantasy world, believing in promises that Walt could never keep even if he wanted to. I anonymously tipped off several business journalists about Walt's financial situation. Not enough to destroy him, but enough to put pressure on him, to make him even more desperate to protect his marriage and business. The articles started appearing in trade publications. Walt's wife saw them. She became even more vigilant, more protective of their assets. As the conference approached, I ramped up my efforts. I created multiple anonymous accounts and started leaving subtle comments on Samantha's posts. Nothing overtly accusatory, just questions that would make her followers think. Where's your husband in all these amazing trips? Do you ever feel guilty leaving him behind so much? I heard bloggers sometimes stage their relationships for content. Is yours real? The comments section became a battlefield. Samantha's loyal followers defended her, but the seeds of doubt spread. New followers started questioning the authenticity she had built her brand on. Her engagement rates began to drop. Brand managers started noticing. I also reached out to the conference organizers directly, still anonymously. I didn't make accusations, I just asked questions. Have you verified the authenticity of your nominees' content? What's your policy on bloggers who misrepresent their personal lives? How do you ensure award recipients actually embody the values they claim to represent? These questions made the organizers nervous. They started their own quiet investigation. They couldn't find concrete proof of the affair, but they found enough inconsistencies in Samantha's narrative to make them uncomfortable. The perfect image she had crafted started showing cracks. The week before the conference, Samantha was more stressed than I'd ever seen her. She was snapping at me over small things, constantly on her phone, clearly arguing with someone via text. I played the supportive husband perfectly. You're just nervous about your speech, I'd say. Everything will be fine. She'd hug me, tears in her eyes, and I'd feel her guilt radiating off her in waves. What happened after that is worth hearing. The night before the conference, Walt finally cracked under pressure. His wife had given him an ultimatum after finding more evidence. He called Samantha and told her it was over. Not in person, not even a video call, just a cold phone call. He said he had made a mistake, that he needed to focus on his family and business, that she should move on with her life. Samantha was devastated. She called me from a hotel room downtown, crying so hard she could barely speak. She said she was having a panic attack about the speech tomorrow, and needed me to come calm her down. I went. I held her while she sobbed. I stroked her hair and told her everything would be okay. She clung to me like I was a lifeline, and I felt absolutely nothing. The man who had loved her unconditionally was gone. In his place was someone who saw her with perfect clarity, a woman who had destroyed something beautiful because she believed she deserved more, and who was now realizing that more was just an illusion. The next morning the conference began. Samantha pulled herself together, did her makeup, put on her best outfit. She looked perfect on the outside, but I could see the cracks. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her phone, probably hoping for a message from Walt that would never come. Then Emily's post went live. It was timed perfectly, right as attendees were arriving at the conference, scrolling through their feeds. The post was detailed, well-written, and devastating. Emily didn't just hint at the affair, she laid out a pattern of deception that was unmistakable. She talked about how this unnamed blogger had confided in friends about her affair, how she had bragged about the passionate love she had found, how she had mocked her husband's ignorance behind his back. The conference exploded with whispers. People were looking at their phones, then at Samantha. The organizers were in emergency meetings. Brand representatives who had been courting Samantha for deals were suddenly nowhere to be found. You won't guess how it all ends. Samantha's mother arrived at the conference unannounced. She had driven up from Georgia overnight after Walt's wife had called her with everything. She walked into the main hall, found Samantha, and slapped her across the face in front of everyone. The room went silent. Security moved to intervene, but Samantha's mother was already speaking, her voice carrying across the space. I raised you better than this, she said, her voice shaking with rage and grief. I taught you about honor, about keeping your vows, about being a woman of integrity. And you threw it all away for what? For a married man who couldn't even respect you enough to leave his wife? For Instagram likes? For money? Samantha stood there, frozen, tears streaming down her face. The room was filled with the clicking of phone cameras. This moment was being documented by hundreds of people, and it would be online within minutes. You've broken your husband's heart, her mother continued. A good man who loved you, who supported your dreams, who never asked for anything but your faithfulness. And for what? I'm ashamed to call you my daughter. With that, her mother turned and left. Samantha collapsed into a chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her in the most public way possible. The conference organizers quickly escorted her out a back entrance. The award was given to someone else. And by evening, the entire blogging community knew everything. The aftermath was brutal. Within days, every brand she worked with terminated their contracts. Her management company dropped her. Other bloggers who had been friends distanced themselves publicly. Her Instagram comments became a toxic wasteland of judgment and mockery. She lost over 200,000 followers in a week. Walt's wife filed for separation, and word spread in the hotel industry about his affair. His business partners started questioning his judgment. Several deals fell through. While he didn't lose everything, his reputation took a significant hit. As for me, I went through with the divorce proceedings with clinical efficiency. Our lawyers handled most of it. We divided assets, sold the apartment, split everything down the middle. Samantha tried to talk to me several times to explain, to apologize, but I had nothing to say to her. The woman I had loved was gone, replaced by a stranger who had worn her face while lying to me for months. The final hearing was brief. We signed the papers and it was done. As we left the courthouse, she tried one last time. "Tom, I did love you. I still do in my own way. I got confused. I made a terrible mistake." I looked at her and saw everything she had lost written on her face. The confidence was gone. The spark that had made her so magnetic to her followers had dimmed. She looked tired and defeated. "You didn't make a mistake, Samantha," I said quietly. "You made choices. Hundreds of them. Every time you booked a flight to meet him. Every time you kissed me goodbye knowing where you were really going. Every time you posted about our perfect love, while planning to leave me. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. And choices have consequences." I walked away and never looked back. 6 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had taken a job at a small travel agency. Her blogging career was over. She had tried to restart under a new name, but the internet never forgets. Someone always recognized her and spread the word. She was essentially blacklisted from the industry she had once dominated. Walt and his wife eventually reconciled for the sake of their children, though I heard their marriage was now more of a business arrangement than a love story. He had lost his gambler's edge, become more cautious, more afraid. The affair had cost him too, just not as much as it cost Samantha. As for me, I still drive. I still live in the Bronx. But I'm different now. More careful with my trust. More aware of the masks people wear. I date occasionally, but I'm in no hurry. I learned that sometimes the worst betrayals come from the people you trust with your life, and that lesson isn't one you forget quickly. This was the calmest day before the storm. I think about Samantha sometimes. I wonder if she ever understood the full scope of what she destroyed. It wasn't just our marriage. It was her relationship with her mother, her career, her friendships, her reputation, and her self-image as a good person. She had built this incredible life through authenticity and trust, and she burned it all down for a fantasy that was never going to become reality. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was a travel blogger who taught people about discovering themselves through new experiences. But in seeking those new experiences, she lost herself completely. She had everything: a loving partner, a successful career, respect from her peers, the admiration of hundreds of thousands of followers. And she traded it all for a married man with money problems who was never going to leave his wife. People often ask me if I regret how I handled it, if I think I went too far. But here's the thing: I didn't destroy Samantha's life. She did that herself. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. I made sure her actions had consequences. In a world where influencers can curate perfect lies and sell them as truth, I made sure that reality caught up with her. Would I do it again? Yes. Not because I enjoyed it. I didn't. It was exhausting and emotionally draining. But because people deserved to know. Her followers deserved to know they were being lied to. The brands that paid her for authenticity deserved to know she was a fraud. And her mother deserved to know that her daughter had abandoned the values she was raised with. The end of my story with Samantha taught me something valuable. Revenge doesn't have to be about destroying someone. It's about revealing the truth and letting natural consequences unfold. I didn't need to sabotage her career directly. I just needed to show people who she really was, and they made their own decisions. Now, years later, I'm rebuilding. I'm learning to trust again, slowly. I've started seeing someone new. A teacher from Queens who has never heard of Instagram influencers and doesn't care about social media. We take things slow. She knows my story and she understands why I need time. And the finale of this story surprised even me. As for Samantha, I heard recently that she's considering writing a memoir about her experience. About how she lost everything and what she learned. Part of me hopes she doesn't. Part of me thinks she still doesn't understand that some stories aren't hers to profit from anymore. But if she does write it, I hope she tells the truth this time. Not the curated, filtered version, but the real, ugly truth about how easy it is to destroy something beautiful when you stop valuing it. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.